second and first, we're going to move one travel lane. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to move one travel lane here because, as we had mentioned, from second to first. Because in the existing, there's two 12-foot lanes there. It's
throughout the city, so it looks like this. You can see it right there where you have the parking lane.
Por ejemplo, esto es como se va a
This is a
ver
30-foot
al
wide
lado.
street that fits parking on both sides, with a standard travel lane and a standard width bike lane.
Te da espacio para
With 30 feet,
2
does that
días de
exclude the
pista y
bike
2
lane?
días
It
de
includes the bike lane, it does not include the sidewalks.
Ese también es
Okay.
Pero solamente puedes entrar abajo de la agua en la 39 o la 58 porque son las calles más grandes.
Working on this in depth for the last 2 years, really sort of getting our hands dirty with different community engagement and education events, as well as a number of community workshops just like this in the past year and a half. But this idea, this concept of Upland Connectors or connector streets in Sunset Park is not a new one. It's one that's been here in the community for over 10, 15 years as a really sort of greatly needed resource here in Sunset Park. We understand that residential Sunset Park is deeply divided from the working waterfront in Sunset Park, with the elevated Gowanus Expressway as well as unsafe street conditions. For many, many years in community-based plans, this idea of the need to connect residential Sunset Park and the working waterfront has been articulated and expressed over and over again. And so we at Uprose were excited when a couple years ago we were able to partner with the Department of Transportation to make this idea that's been described over the years so many times a reality. And we've done so in a community-based way, meaning that we really begin with a blank slate going back 2 years. We begin with this idea that yes, we understand that we need to connect upland residential Sunset Park with its working waterfront, but beyond that, there's really no agenda here. And so we started with this idea, and we've moved through a number of different community events and workshops like this to really zero in and prioritize which streets we should be selecting and how we should be improving them to link down to the waterfront. And tonight marks the third and final community workshop of this type. We're going to be seeing some of the ideas and recommendations that have been coming out of the Department of Transportation. And one of the reasons that I'm really happy that we have a good mix of folks here is that for us, at least at Uprose, it's extremely important that not one single sort of interest dominates this type of planning process. We understand that residents have a certain need when it comes to their streets. We understand that young children have a certain need when it comes to their streets. We understand that industrial businesses have a certain need when it comes to how the streets work. And for us, it is important that whatever development happens in Sunset Park comes out of a collaboration and a conversation among these different interests. And with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I will turn it over to my counterpart at DOT, Sean Macias, to walk us through some of the recommendations that we'll be discussing tonight. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out.
Thanks, Ryan. My name is Sean Macias. I'm a project manager with the New York City Department of Transportation. Thank you all for making time in your evening to join us tonight. We're excited here to bring to you Workshop 3, where we will discuss proposed projects and prioritization. As Ryan mentioned, it has been a bit of a culmination, a lot of work on your part, and Uprose and DOT's part to kind of get here. So we're excited to show you these ideas tonight. One addition, all these projects are just proposed at this point. We still have to go through the full community board process. So I don't want anyone leaving tonight thinking that this is a done deal. We will still go through the community board process. just like any other project. Workshop process just helps us create a much stronger project. So this is the agenda for tonight, guys. Just big picture. I'm going to give a short presentation here to start, and then we'll jump into the participation portion, where you have facilitators at your table that will run you through a detailed review of all the proposed projects, and they can answer any questions or take down any comments that you may have. And then after that, we'll wrap up. You'll select one member from each table to be your representative and kind of share back the top comments that you guys had at each table. That way everyone in the room can hear what every other table spoke about. And then this is just some organization for my presentation. Just so everyone is on the same page, I'm going to provide a little background, talk about the goals and the outcomes of this project, the timeline, as well as give a little summary of Workshop 1 and Workshop 2, so everyone knows kind of where we started and how we arrived at where we are. And then discuss the proposed projects, kind of give an overview of the projects, and then allow you guys to break into your groups and really discuss them at the tables. So let's start with a little background. There is a large density of jobs located near the waterfront. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but it is the largest walk-to-work community in New York City. Also located on the waterfront is EDC recently opened Bush Terminal Park there at the end of 43rd Street. DOT is working on a greenway along the waterfront. Owl's Head Park and Shore Road Promenade are also more established recreational opportunities located in the southern part of the neighborhood. And then Mayor Bill de Blasio has proposed ferry service expansion with a proposed ferry landing at the 58th Street Pier. So as you can see, there are a lot of assets located here along Sunset Park's waterfront. However, most of the residential core, commercial centers, and major transit, such as subways, all lie upland on 4th, 5th, even 6th Avenues. So between these two activity areas, you have the Gowanus Expressway, creating a barrier, both visual, physical, and perceived. 3rd Avenue is also very wide, heavily trafficked, 4th Avenue. So it's very important to create upland connections from the community down to the waterfront to connect this community that does have a lack of access to open space and recreation down to the assets located along the waterfront. So what are upland connectors? Upland connectors are streets that provide increased safety for all street users. They are used for not only transportation but also recreation, connecting the assets that I just mentioned. We also not only want to connect but provide green space along these corridors. And lastly, we want to work with the neighborhood needs and the industrial uses. We want to make sure we strike a balance between the needs and safety of the community, as well as the industrial operations of businesses, which is so vital to this community. So that is why we've undertaken this workshop process to make sure that we develop a project that works for everybody involved. These are our project goals and outcomes. First goal is to establish upland connectors, again, to open up access to places like the Brooklyn Army Terminal, the ferry landing, Bush Terminal Park, Lutheran Medical Center, just to name a few. We also want to improve safety for all street users, which is always a major goal of the Department of Transportation. And then lastly, we want to create greener streets. We want to create streets that not only make Sunset Park a more beautiful place to live, but also a healthier place to live. There are two types of outcomes associated with our project. First, we aim to identify and implement priority short-term street improvement projects. Those are basically projects that use DOT resources, things like changing markings, signal changes, concrete, signage changes. And the advantage there is we can implement change in a very quick in a very short amount of time. We can take your ideas and create substantive change in the ground, again, very quickly. Secondly, using community input, we want to identify long-term realizable improvements that can be constructed through the capital process. Capital projects are generally larger and more complex. And I do have to be clear, any capital addition will require additional funds. This is on a separate timeline. But the advantage there is we'll have a blueprint of projects in the community that when it comes time to apply for funds, either federal or state, that we can point to and say, these are the needs in this community. Let's devote this money to these needs. Just an overview of our project timeline and community outreach. Ryan kind of touched on this. But we had our kickoff back in April of 2015 where we introduced this project to the community. That was followed by a summer of community engagement that Uprose led. They led a series of walks through the neighborhood, identifying issues and opportunities, and really just getting people ready to participate in these workshops, getting familiar with the neighborhood. And then our first workshop was October 2015, where we discussed existing conditions and potential routes. We took all your data and feedback, compiled it, and came back at Workshop 2 and presented the Upland Corridors, which I will touch on here in just a moment, in April 2016, and then discuss potential street designs along those corridors. And then that brings us to tonight, proposed projects, Workshop 3, proposed projects and prioritization. Our final plan will be released in the spring of 2017, where we will outline all our findings. And at the same time, Uprose is working on a documentary that will outline the steps that we've taken from beginning to end, which should be really interesting to see where we started, all the steps we took, and then ultimately, what projects we were able to deliver. Just some background. This is the project study area. It's bounded by the waterfront on the west, 5th Avenue to the east, 29th Street to the north, and Shore Road to the south. So now we'll transition to the summaries for Workshop 1 and Workshop 2. At Workshop 1, we asked participants to think critically about the diverse demands placed upon Sunset Park streets. We asked, where do you go? Where would you like to go? What are some of the key destinations? Does it revolve around transit? Does it revolve around jobs? And then which streets best connect these key destinations? So the destinations, what we heard from the community overwhelmingly was Bush Terminal Park, Brooklyn Army Terminal, the second opening, proposed opening to Bush Terminal Park at 50th Street, transportation and commerce on 4th Avenue, Sunset Park itself, and Lutheran Medical Center were all high on the priority list for the community that evening. So then moving into Workshop 2, using community input collected at Workshop 1, we identified these corridors as the Upland Connectors, 43rd Street, 50th, and 58th. 43rd Street was selected because it connects Sunset Park and the Upland community right into the entrance of Bush Terminal Park. 50th Street was selected, because it connects from the Upland community down into the proposed second opening of Bush Terminal Park. And then 58th was selected because it connects Brooklyn Army Terminal, the proposed ferry landing, Lutheran Medical Center, upland to the community, as well as the express stop located at 59th Street. Additionally, at Workshop 2, we shared DOT's Street Improvement Toolkit. We rolled out these large maps of each of the corridors and asked you folks to identify locations along these specific corridors where improvements could be made. This is what came out of that discussion. ADA accessibility was a major concern. As you can see here, this is one of our walkthroughs over the summer. We had a participant in a wheelchair who couldn't join us on the sidewalk because of exposed cobblestones. So it's these types of impediments that were brought up. Bike and pedestrian conflicts with vehicles was a concern. Blocked sidewalks, like the one you see here, either due to parked vehicles or the land use along the corridor. Long street crossings, we heard that pedestrians felt exposed on some of these longer street crossings to faster moving vehicles, larger vehicles. Poor lighting, and then also high vehicle speeds, which I think goes along with the long street crossings. Vehicles approach very quickly. And I hope I touched on it, but wayfinding was also very important. Folks, we met with a few people who tried to go down and see the new park. They got to 43rd and 1st and didn't realize that they had to continue and turn around. So that was another concern that was brought up. So we've spent the last 2 workshops trying to, or asking you what needs attention. So now let's talk about factors influencing the proposed designs. So we have targeted improvements that we used when looking at the designs of the 3 roadways, or the 3 connectors, excuse me. These targeted improvements are potential intersection safety improvements, potential streetscape improvements, and then lastly, potential green infrastructure locations. So as we started reviewing the corridors with the community's feedback in mind, several examples and solutions started to emerge. Curb extensions either in truffle paint or concrete, not only increase visibility, but shorten crossings, limiting that exposure. New ADA ramps opens up accessibility for all users. And then daylighting. Daylighting came to mind because not only does it improve visibility and safety between pedestrians and vehicles, it also improves sightlines from vehicle to vehicle. So as you approach the intersection, you're able to see another vehicle coming and make a calculated choice as to whether you should pull out or not.
Can I just ask you to clarify what daylighting is exactly?
Yes, so what it is, you just move at the intersections. Currently, vehicles will park right up to the crosswalk. What we do is we just set them back about 10 feet so that those sight lines are remained open, so an approaching vehicle can see.
You eliminate parking spots.
We move the parking back 10 feet, correct.
You eliminate parking spots.
Some parking space, yes, for the benefit of
fine.
improved safety
Just want to have
and
everybody
visibility.
understand what's going on.
Thank you, Tom. So these are the streetscape improvements that we began to consider while thinking about the comments that were collected. On 58th Street especially, we heard that there were large volumes of pedestrians coming down from the Upland community as well as the subway heading down to the Brooklyn Army Terminal, and that there was a really lack of space. So we tried to identify locations where we could expand pedestrian space. When we spoke about gateways during workshop 2, really resonated with a lot of folks. I like the idea of having a signifier or a unique treatment to alert folks that there's something different about this street. There's a park at the end of the street. There's a ferry terminal here. Benches and seating we thought would go a long ways. That was a big complaint that there weren't any places to rest. And then wayfinding, as I mentioned before, will be incorporated in all of these corridors because it is important that not only motorists, cyclists, pedestrians can all get to the destination that they choose. Green infrastructure was also a major priority. We heard about it at every step along the way. So we reached out to our DOT Green Infrastructure Unit and asked them to do an analysis of the selected corridors. So this is a map that they delivered to us here. It identifies several locations along each corridor suitable for green infrastructure improvements. In addition, Uprose's GRASP initiative identified locations where stored chemicals could potentially be dislodged in the event of a large storm. So using both resources, we've identified potential green infrastructure locations, and they're denoted on your maps, and your facilitators will walk you through that. So as a refresher, this is the 43rd Street Upland Connector. It was chosen because it connects Bush Terminal Park to Sunset Park, the Upland community, and as well as the bike network here. The street does fluctuate. As you can see here, it's 43 feet in width between 1st and 2nd Avenue, and then narrows down to 30 feet between 2nd and 5th. The neighborhood character changes vastly. It's largely industrial down near the waterfront, and once you get to 3rd Avenue and further east, all the way up to 5th, it becomes densely residential, kind of what Ryan alluded to. There's a stark divide at 3rd Avenue. And then different widths and different street conditions call for different designs, which is something we want you guys to bear in mind as we look at the proposed design for 43rd Street Connector. There's a lot of information here. Don't feel like you need to commit it to memory. We'll break out into groups and discuss it specifically. But our approach here was a park greenway with a one-way pair. On 43rd Street, as I mentioned, where there is a little more space, we have proposed adding a two-way bicycle lane along the curb there. What that does is it complements the gateway treatment. When you have this protected space for both bikes and pedestrians, it alerts motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists, hey, there is something unique here. This is leading me somewhere. In this case, it's taking you to Bush Terminal Park. We've proposed adding a new pedestrian crossing at 1st Avenue to get bikes and pedestrians safely across. There currently isn't one there. We've also planned to make pedestrian improvements underneath the Gowanus at that location that we saw in the photo, as well as along the entire corridor, making those ADA improvements that I outlined. And then we also created consistent routes. That was something we heard during the workshops, that if you were a cyclist or a pedestrian, you could just get on one road, say 43rd Street, and head west, and stay on the same corridor the entire way without having to shift lanes. So we provided that 43rd Street is the westbound connector, 44th Street is the eastbound. And as Tom mentioned, there is a minor parking impact. We're proposing removing 2 spaces at 43rd and 1st, or 43rd and 2nd, pardon me, not only to open up sightlines, but also to allow larger vehicles that need to access this roadway, give them the space to execute those left and right turns off 2nd Avenue. This is 58th Street, Upland Connector. Again, it was selected because it connects the ferry landing and Brooklyn Army Terminal to the Upland community and express stop at 58th. Again, the street width fluctuates. Here it's 59 feet between 1st and 2nd, and then transitions to 30 feet between 2nd and 5th. The neighborhood character, again, here changes. It's industrial near the waterfront, and transitions to largely residential as you get further away from the water. And again, different widths and street conditions call for different designs, which is what influenced our design here on 58th Street. Between 1st and 2nd Avenue, you have 59 feet. So what we did was we just standardized the travel lanes there. And by doing that, it gave us enough space here to add new pedestrian space to meet that pedestrian demand of all the crowds of folks coming down 58th Street in the morning and then again leaving at night. We also have a two-way bike lane along the south side that again adds to that gateway feeling. There's this protected space for both pedestrians and bikes that's leading you to something. It's a unique location along this roadway. Again, we will make pedestrian improvements underneath the Gowanus and along both corridors. We have the consistent bike routes that I mentioned, both in the eastbound and westbound connection that the community requested at Workshop 2. And then, again, there's a minor impact, 2 parking spaces for daylighting at 58th and 2nd, again, to facilitate those larger truck movements and improve safety and visibility for pedestrians. Now, this is the 50th Street Upland Connector. It connects the planned second opening to Bush Terminal Park to the Upland community. This connector is a little different than the other two. Here, there are some issues that are difficult to solve with the DOT toolkit. So on the last block here between 1st and 2nd, currently there's no sidewalks, as you can see in this photo. It's also a heavily industrial corridor, and where the streets at 43rd and 58th widened, here it stays the same. In fact, there's another lane of traffic. So all these streets here, you can see these double arrows, they're two-way. So what that is where most streets in the neighborhood are 30 feet wide in only one direction of traffic. These streets are 30 feet wide with 2 directions of traffic, which creates a scenario and an environment that's not conducive really to introduce bikes into. 50th Street, this is the proposed design. There are 2 solutions here. There's the interim solution. We want to track the proposed second opening of Bush Terminal Park, and as the park is opening, install wayfinding signage for pedestrians to divert them to 51st Street. You can see in this photo here, there are plentiful sidewalks, so it's a safe connection for pedestrians to get to this new access once it comes online. And for the bikes, what we'd like to do is pursue capital funding for roadway and sidewalk reconstruction and address pedestrian bike connections in the capital phase. That way we can serve the short-term interests of the community by getting pedestrians there safely now and look for a bike connection in the future using the capital process.